Hey guys, it's Kyla at the MJC, and today I'm going to walk you guys through the filing instructions for those of you filing Part 2 joint without minor children. But before we get started on the checklist, I have a couple of warnings I want to give you right off the bat. The first is that nothing in this video is intended to be legal advice. It's a video, so I can't analyze your specific situation. And even more than that, it's a video focused entirely on procedure, so it doesn't even talk about if this form or these forms are right for you. So, if you have questions that might need input about what you should do, how you should go forward, what's in your best interest, evidence, anything like that, I definitely recommend getting some legal advice. You can get brief legal advice for free in Milwaukee County through the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinics. The second thing is that this checklist is accurate as of recording this, which is December 16th of 2020, but we are in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, and some of this information about filing is specific to filing during the pandemic. So as you guys know, things are changing pretty quickly. We get new directions every day, so the longer it is from the date this was done, the more likely it is that things may have changed at least a little. And obviously, if you are in that wonderful moment when the pandemic is largely over and we've been able to mostly go back to normal, you will want to check and see, because I imagine these procedures will have changed by then. If you got this through our website or through an MJC or MVLC volunteer, then I assume it is accurate. But if you just kind of found it floating out on the internet, you may want to double check to make sure the procedures are correct. The last little tidbit is I usually, and in fact on some of these checklists I have said that if you're not filing in Milwaukee County, contact your clerk of court for... This is very Milwaukee specific. So if you have been watching these videos and filled out the forms, you will need to, and you're not filing in Milwaukee County, you're filing in another county, you will need to file in that county. And as you've heard me say a couple of times, Milwaukee is weird. It's idiosyncratic, and our rules are not the same. So you're not going to file in Milwaukee. What I would recommend is contact the clerk of courts for your county and ask them how they want these documents filed. All right, but for those of you who are in Milwaukee, this is the information. So let's go ahead and go through it. I'm going to start with just a quick overview roadmap type thing, and then we'll go into more detail. Some people might say excruciating detail. So, first things first, what forms will you need? You do need the financial disclosure statement. That is this lovely 7-page document here. And you'll need one financial disclosure for each person. Make sure that yours are filled in. This one is not filled in because I'm just trying to show you the document. You'll need one for each person. So make sure that you've got that form. You will also need the MJC case summary, which is here, and you can just kind of see generally what that looks like. Looks, like that. This is not a required form, as I mentioned on the video where we talked about filling it out. It is a form that we use at the MJC, so if you worked with us, you probably got one, and that we do just to kind of help the clerks and provide necessary information. So we do recommend doing it, but if you had trouble finding it, didn't want to do it, it is an optional form. The case summary, the rest of them are not optional. The marital settlement agreement is the next form that you'll need. You want to make sure you've got the marital settlement without minor children, and again, just kind of looks like this, and you could go all the way through the form. But the main thing is just make sure it's got that title on it. You will need the interim financial summary only if somebody is requesting child support or maintenance. So since this is without minor children, probably no one is asking for child support, but if one of you will be receiving maintenance, you'll have filled out this form. You'll want to do the divorce annulment worksheet. Looks like this. The findings of fact and conclusions of law and judgment. Let's see if I can manage to pull up the right one here. Here we go. Findings of fact, conclusions of law and judgment without minor children. So make sure it's the without minor children version of it. you'll want the party's approval of the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and judgment. Again, without minor children, this is the one you both would have signed. And last but not least, if one of you is changing a surname to your maiden name or any other form or surname, you'll want the abridgment regarding surname form. All right, so you've got all of those. Additional items that you'll need 2 large manila envelopes, so like 8.5 by 11 or 8.5 by 13 big manila envelopes, and 8 postage stamps. What you're going to do is you're going to put 4 stamps on each envelope, and you're going to address one envelope to each party in the case. So one is if it's being mailed to you, one is if it's being mailed to your soon-to-be ex-spouse. Costs and fees. The only fee associated with this version of Part 2 is that $5 docketing fee. That can't be waived using a fee waiver, so you'll have to pay that docketing fee. The general process, you're going to gather everything you need to file. You're going to file everything at the courthouse, and then you're going to attend your hearing. Sounds simple enough, right? So now I'll just go through each of those steps in more detail in case you want or need a little more detail. So the first thing you have to do is gather all of those documents. So you will make sure you have all of the documents that I mentioned filled out. If you worked with the MJC, the first thing you're going to do is review those documents. If you worked on your own, probably you don't need to review because I assume you were paying attention as you went and didn't make typos in anything. But if you worked with our students, you'll review the forms, make sure addresses are spelled right, names look good, phone numbers are right, all that sort of stuff, and also make any edits or additions that you see in this chart. So if you, again, worked with our MJC team, there's some things where you'll need to put things. So here you might need to go gather a legal description. Here you need to add socials to the divorce annulment worksheet. So anything that's written in here, make sure you make those changes. Make sure you both review it to make sure it looks right with particular attention to spelling and issues like that. Once you've got those 2 things done, then you're ready to print all the documents off and make some copies. Please note that the documents when printed do need to be single-sided, so you should only have printing on one side of the page. That is true for both the original printed one and the copies. As far as printing, if you have a printer that you can use either at home or at work, fantastic, use that. Or if a friend has a printer you can use, great. Otherwise, you can call the Milwaukee County Law Library to see if they are open for printing and copying services. You can reach them at 414-278-4900. If you don't want to wait for the library, or if you don't have access to a printer, you can go to a FedEx Kinko's or an Office Max or a package store, your local library, anywhere that they might have copying and printing services available. So once you have reviewed all the documents, you will sign them all, and then you will need to make copies. The number of copies you need for each form is over here in the cleverly titled Copies Needed column. So for the financial disclosure, you just need the original, case summary, just the original. For the marital settlement, you'll need 3 photocopies, so the original plus 3 photocopies. And make sure anything attached to it, so for example, if you had to attach a legal description to the marital settlement agreement, that should be attached, and there should be 3 copies of it as well. So it should be like the last page of this form. There are no copies needed of the interim financial summary or the divorce annulment worksheet, but the findings of fact, the party's approval of the findings of fact, and the abridgment form all need 2 photocopies. As mentioned, 2 other things you'll want to gather. Those 2 large manila envelopes. Again, put 4 stamps on each one. Address one as if it's being mailed to you, one as if it's being mailed to the other person in your case. You don't need to put anything inside the envelopes. You will file them with the court, and then the court will use them to send you your final divorce paperwork. And make sure you've gathered that $5 docketing fee. Again, that can't be waived with a fee waiver. Once you have gathered all of that stuff, you're going to take it to the courthouse. I should note, if you e-filed, you'll want to go ahead and e-file the paperwork again. But our checklist presumes you are paper filing since the majority of folks paper file. But if you e-filed, then just make sure follow whatever process you did to e-file Part 1. So you'll go to the courthouse. You will take everything to room 104 of the courthouse, which is open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every weekday, except for major holidays, so Christmas, New Year's, that sort of thing. Once you have filed, that's all for then. You'll leave the paperwork there. The court will contact you with a court date. Usually they send those hearing dates out by mail. Do note it could take several weeks to hear back from the court, so we do ask you guys to be patient. If it has been over a month since you filed and you haven't received anything, you can either contact the court directly if you're given information about contacting them about follow-up, or you can contact us at mjcdivorce@gmail.com, and we can try and help you navigate what your next steps are to figure out where your paperwork's gotten log jammed. Once you've gotten back that court date, the only step left you have is to attend your hearing. Your hearing will most likely take place by phone or by Zoom. The court will send you instructions about how to call in or to join that call using video on Zoom. All right, well, those are all the steps to file the Part 2 Joint Without Minors paperwork. I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope that if you have any questions, you'll reach out to us at mjcdivorce@gmail.com. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you all go out and represent yourselves well.